The redwood forest stretched endlessly, a sea of towering trees that seemed to block out the very sky, their massive trunks etched with the scars of time, their crowns swaying gently in the cool September breeze. To the 5 friends who had driven miles out of the city, the forest was both beautiful and unsettling, a place of legend and whispered fear. Jenny pressed her face against the cool window of the van, her wide brown eyes filled with both excitement and anxiety as she watched the trees close in around the dirt road. Beside her sat Kate, scrolling through her phone, trying to find a signal that would not come, muttering complaints under her breath. At the wheel was Mark, the self-proclaimed leader of the group, his grin wide as he tapped the steering wheel in rhythm with the music blasting from the speakers. Behind him sat Bruce, cracking jokes as usual, and Peter, who barely spoke, his gaze fixed out the window, lost in thought. They were bound together by curiosity, by the thrill of exploring a place steeped in dark legend, the ruins of the Redwood farmhouse, said to be the site of a massacre decades ago, where the spirits of the dead still lingered, and where, according to the most frightening tales, a killer still roamed. The road ended at a clearing, the van bumping over rocks before Mark finally stopped the engine. The silence that followed was thick, broken only by the rustling leaves overhead and the distant call of a raven. Everyone climbed out, stretching stiff limbs, looking around with mixed expressions. Before them stood the farmhouse, or rather, what remained of it. The walls sagged, the roof was half collapsed, and vines curled through shattered windows like veins of the forest reclaiming its prize. A faint smell of rot lingered in the air, sharp and unpleasant, as though the earth itself remembered the blood once spilled here. Jenny shivered despite the warmth of the sun, hugging herself as she whispered, "This place feels wrong." Mark laughed and threw his arm around her shoulder, trying to mask his own unease with bravado. "It's perfect," he said. "Come on, this is the kind of trip people never forget." They spent the afternoon exploring the area, setting up tents near the clearing, gathering firewood, and daring each other to step inside the farmhouse. Bruce, never one to turn down a challenge, was the first to push open the creaking door, the sound echoing through the hollow structure like a groan of pain. Dust motes danced in the shafts of sunlight that pierced through holes in the roof. Broken furniture lay scattered, and dark stains marked the warped wooden floor. "Looks like someone had a real bad dinner party," Bruce joked, though his voice wavered at the edges. Kate wrinkled her nose and stayed near the doorway, refusing to step inside. Peter, however, lingered, running his fingers across a rusted hook still hanging from the ceiling beam, his eyes narrowing as though imagining what it had once held. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of crimson and violet, they gathered around the fire. Laughter mixed with the smell of roasting marshmallows, but beneath it all, tension simmered. Jenny sat close to Mark but could not shake the feeling that they were not alone. The forest seemed too quiet, as though holding its breath. Every snap of a twig or rustle of a branch made her flinch. Kate noticed her unease and tried to distract her with gossip, but even she kept glancing nervously at the tree line. Bruce, in his usual fashion, started telling ghost stories, his face lit from below by the firelight, his voice low and dramatic. He spoke of the farmer who had once lived here, a man whose mind shattered when he lost his family in mysterious circumstances, a man who turned to madness and murder, butchering anyone who came near his land. They said his spirit, or worse, his cursed body, still roamed the forest, hiding behind a burlap mask, carrying an axe that had tasted more blood than steel deserved. Jenny hugged her knees tighter, her eyes darting around the dark woods. "You're making that up," she muttered, though her voice trembled. "It's just a story." Bruce grinned, teeth flashing. "Then why are you so scared?" She wanted to retort, but the words died on her tongue as a sharp crack echoed through the forest, like the snap of a branch underfoot. Everyone froze, the laughter vanishing, replaced by the thundering of hearts. Mark grabbed a flashlight and shone it into the darkness, the beam slicing through the trees. Nothing moved. After a long, tense silence, they laughed it off nervously, blaming animals, but none of them truly believed it. Later, when the fire had burned low and the forest swallowed their voices, they retreated to their tents. Jenny lay awake beside Mark, her mind replaying every sound, every shadow. She heard it again, the slow, deliberate crunch of footsteps circling their camp. Her breath quickened, her body stiff. She nudged Mark, whispering urgently, but he groaned and told her to sleep. The footsteps stopped, leaving her in suffocating silence. She did not sleep at all that night. At dawn, they found something strange. Near the farmhouse, etched into the dirt with a crude stick, was a symbol, a spiral surrounded by jagged lines, like a grotesque sun. Kate recoiled at the sight, her hand covering her mouth. "Who did this?" she demanded. Mark shrugged, trying to hide his unease. "Probably some hiker messing with us."
"Come on, don't freak out."
But Peter crouched low, his eyes narrowing, his voice almost a whisper. "It's old. This wasn't drawn last night. It's been here a long time." Nobody responded, but the image stayed burned in their minds as they tried to go about the day. By evening, things worsened. Bruce had gone to gather firewood, calling out jokes as he disappeared into the trees. Minutes turned into hours. The sun vanished behind the redwoods, and still he did not return. At first, they laughed, assuming he was trying to scare them, but when Kate started calling his name with no reply, the laughter faded. Mark grabbed a flashlight, leading the group into the forest, their voices echoing in desperation. Then Kate screamed. They found Bruce hanging from a low branch, his body swaying gently in the night breeze. His chest was torn open, blood dripping onto the leaves below, his lifeless eyes staring wide at nothing. Jenny collapsed, her scream muffled by her hands. Kate fell to her knees, sobbing hysterically, clawing at his body as if she could bring him back. Mark pulled her away, his face pale, his bravado shattered. Peter stood rigid, fists clenched, whispering, "He's here." The farmer. Before they could flee, a figure stepped from the shadows. He was massive, shoulders broad, clothes stained and tattered. A burlap sack covered his head, its eyeholes dark and empty, and in his hands gleamed a bloodied axe. The air seemed to freeze. For a moment, no one breathed. Then the farmer charged. The friends scattered, screaming, crashing through the forest as branches whipped against their faces. Jenny's lungs burned as Mark dragged her forward, his grip iron strong. Behind them, Kate's shrill cries ended abruptly with a sickening crunch, followed by silence. Jenny's stomach lurched, but she could not stop running. Peter appeared beside them, his face pale with terror, urging them deeper into the woods. They did not stop until they collapsed in a clearing, gasping for breath, their minds reeling with disbelief.
Kate was gone.
Bruce was dead. And the legend of the Redwood Massacre was no legend at all. It was alive, stalking them, feeding on their fear.